500 people circled the magician in Times Square. 500,000 watched the live stream. Every eye fixed on Marcus the Magnificent, the most viral street performer in New York City. Then an 11-year-old black boy raised his hand. "Can I show you a trick?" he asked. Marcus laughed. The crowd laughed. The internet laughed. 7 minutes later, no one was laughing. The boy hadn't just performed a trick. He had exposed something that left the entire crowd speechless, the live stream exploding and Marcus in handcuffs. What did an 11-year-old know that 500,000 people didn't? Everything, 3 months earlier. Jalen Carter was having the best day of his life. Straight A's on his report card, first time ever. His dad had promised him something special if he pulled it off, and Jalen had worked his butt off all semester. Extra homework, study sessions at the library, saying no to video games on weeknights. It paid off. "All right, little man," Derek Carter said, grinning at his son across the kitchen table. "A promise is a promise. Where do you want to go?" Jalen didn't hesitate. "Times Square, I want to see the magician." Derek raised an eyebrow. "The magician?" "Marcus the Magnificent. He's all over TikTok, Dad. He's incredible. He makes cards fly and coins disappear, and one time he made a woman's ring show up inside a sealed bottle and— Okay. Derek held up his hands, laughing. "Times Square it is." Jalen jumped up and hugged his father. At 11 years old, he was getting too big for that. Or so his friends said. But Jalen didn't care. It was just him and Dad. Had been since Mom died 7 years ago. Derek hugged him back, tight, the way he always did. "Get your jacket," Derek said. "Let's go see some magic." The train from Brooklyn took 45 minutes. Jalen spent the whole ride watching Marcus the Magnificent videos on his dad's phone, narrating every trick. "See, Dad? Watch this part. Watch his hands. You think the card is in his left hand, but it's actually, I'm watching. Isn't that crazy?" Derek smiled. Jalen's excitement was contagious. It had been a while since the boy had been this happy about anything. Things hadn't been easy. A plumber's salary didn't stretch far in New York. Their apartment was small. The radiator barely worked, and Derek picked up extra jobs on weekends just to keep them afloat. But they had each other. That was enough. Derek touched his back pocket instinctively, felt the familiar bulge of his wallet. Inside, tucked behind his driver's license, was the only photo he had of Monique, his wife, Jalen's mother. The photo was old now, edges worn, colors slightly faded, but he could still see her smile, still see the way she held 2-year-old Jalen in her arms, cake frosting on his cheek from his birthday party. They'd lost everything else in the apartment fire 3 years after she died. Photo albums, her jewelry, her handwritten recipes, everything, except this one photo. Derek had it in his wallet that day. He'd carried it with him ever since. Sometimes late at night he'd take it out and just look at her. Remember her laugh, her voice, the way she used to sing while she cooked. Jalen didn't remember much about his mother. He was only 4 when she died. But Derek remembered everything. Dad, this is our stop." Derek blinked, slid the phone back to Jalen. "Let's go see some magic," he said. Times Square was chaos, tourists everywhere, giant screens flashing advertisements, street vendors, musicians, people in superhero costumes charging for photos, and in the center of it all, a crowd. "There," Jalen pointed. "That's him." They pushed through the mass of people until they could see the makeshift stage, a folding table covered in red velvet, a portable speaker playing dramatic music, and standing behind it all, arms raised to the sky, Marcus the Magnificent. He was tall, mid-30s, dark hair slicked back, a black vest over a white shirt, sleeves rolled up to show muscular forearms. His smile was huge, his voice booming. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the greatest show in New York City." The crowd cheered. Phones came out. Live streams started. Jalen was mesmerized. Marcus performed trick after trick. Cards appeared from thin air. Coins multiplied in his hands. He borrowed a woman's watch and made it vanish, only to pull it from a sealed envelope he'd placed on the table an hour earlier. "How does he do that?" Jalen whispered. Derek shook his head, smiling. "No idea, son." For 30 minutes, they watched. Jalen's eyes never left the magician. This was everything he'd hoped for and more. Then Marcus called for a volunteer. "I need someone brave, someone willing to witness real magic up close. Who wants to come up?" Hands shot up everywhere. Jalen raised his hand too, jumping up and down. But Marcus wasn't looking at him. He was looking at Derek. "You, sir, the man in the brown jacket. Come on up." Derek blinked, pointed at himself. "Me?" "Yes, you. Don't be shy. Give him a round of applause, everyone." The crowd cheered. Jalen pushed his dad forward. "Go, Dad! Go!" Derek laughed nervously and made his way to the front. He stepped onto the small platform, suddenly aware of hundreds of eyes on him. "What's your name, my friend?" Marcus asked. "Derek." "Derek, welcome to the show." Marcus shook his hand firmly. "Now, Derek, have we ever met before?" "No, sir." "Are you a plant? A secret assistant?" "No," Derek laughed. "Just a plumber from Brooklyn." "A plumber? An honest working man. Everyone, give it up for Derek." More applause. Jalen clapped the hardest. What happened next was a blur. Marcus had Derek pick a card, sign it, put it back in the deck. Then the cards flew through the air in an impossible cascade, and suddenly Derek's signed card was stuck to the window of a store 20 feet away. "How?" Derek spun around, astonished. But Marcus wasn't done. He reached behind Derek's ear and pulled out a playing card. Then another. Then a coin. Then a whole string of silk scarves. The crowd went wild. "Derek, you've been a wonderful volunteer. One more trick before you go." Marcus waved his hands dramatically over Derek's head. "Everyone, count with me. 3, 2, 1. A flash of light, a puff of smoke, and suddenly a dove appeared in Marcus's hands, seemingly pulled from behind Derek's collar. The crowd exploded, standing ovation. Jalen was screaming with joy. Derek stumbled back down from the stage, dazed and grinning. "Dad, that was amazing! How did he do the dove? How did he know your card? How—" "I have no idea." Derek was laughing, patting his chest like he was checking that the dove hadn't left anything behind. "That was—" He stopped. His hand moved to his back pocket. Empty. Derek's face changed. "Dad? What's wrong?" Derek spun around, dropped to his knees, checked his other pockets, his jacket, the ground. "No, no, 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 no." "Dad, my wallet." Derek's voice was thin, stretched. "My wallet is gone." "Maybe it fell." It didn't fall. Derek was scrambling now, hands slapping the concrete, pushing through people's legs. "It was in my pocket. It was right there. Someone took it." Jalen watched his father's panic with growing dread. He'd never seen his dad like this. "Dad, it's okay. We can cancel the cards. We can—" "It's not the cards." Derek's voice cracked. "The photo. Jalen, the photo of your mother was in there." Jalen went cold. He knew that photo. Dad showed it to him sometimes late at night when they talked about Mom. It was the only picture they had. The only proof she'd existed at all. "Help!" Derek was calling out to the crowd now. "Please, someone took my wallet. There's a photo inside. It's the only—" But people were already dispersing. The show was over. Nobody wanted to deal with drama. Derek pushed toward Marcus, who was packing up his equipment. "Sir, please, my wallet was stolen during your show. There's a photo inside, my wife. She passed away. It's the only one I have." Marcus looked up. His expression was sympathetic, but his eyes were different. Jalen noticed it. A flicker of something that wasn't quite concern. "Sorry, bro." Marcus shrugged. "Pickpockets everywhere in Times Square. Nothing I can do. You should file a police report." "But it happened during your show." "What do you want me to do?" Marcus's voice hardened slightly. "I'm a magician, not a cop. Good luck, man." He turned away. Derek stood there, frozen. Lost. Jalen watched his father's shoulders slump, watched him look around helplessly at the indifferent crowd, the flashing lights, the chaos of Times Square. Then Derek Carter, the strongest man Jalen knew, started to cry. Not loud, not dramatic, just tears sliding down his face as he stood there, fists clenched, completely powerless. Jalen had never seen his father cry, not at Mom's funeral, not during the apartment fire, not ever. Something broke inside Jalen at that moment, and something else started to form. The ride home was silent. Derek stared out the window the whole way. Jalen sat next to him, mind racing. He kept seeing it. The moment his dad discovered the wallet was gone. The way Marcus had looked at them. The way that other man, the one in the blue cap, had walked past right after the show, nodding slightly at Marcus. That nod. Why would a random stranger nod at a street magician? Unless he wasn't random. Jalen didn't say anything. Not yet. It was just a feeling, a suspicion, but he couldn't shake it. That night, Jalen heard his father crying through the wall. Quiet sobs, the sound of a man trying not to be heard. Jalen lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling. The wallet had $40 in it. They could survive that loss. But the photo, the only photo of Mom, that couldn't be replaced, that couldn't be fixed, that was gone forever. Unless... Jalen sat up. Unless it wasn't. Marcus said there was nothing he could do. But what if Marcus was lying? What if Marcus wasn't just a magician? What if Marcus was the reason the wallet disappeared in the first place? It sounded crazy. Even thinking it felt crazy. But Jalen couldn't stop thinking it. He made a decision. Tomorrow after school he was going back to Times Square, not to watch magic, to watch Marcus. Week 1. Jalen told his dad he was going to the library after school. Technically not a lie, he did stop at the library first. Checked out a book on magic history just to have something to show if Dad asked. Then he took the train to Times Square. He found a spot 50 feet from Marcus's usual location, behind a newspaper stand, close enough to see everything, far enough to stay invisible. And he watched. Marcus performed the same show. Different tricks, but the same structure, same energy, same crowd-pleasing personality, same volunteer routine. Jalen watched closely this time, not the magic, the audience. At first, he wasn't sure what he was looking for. Just a feeling, a hunch, the memory of that nod. Day 3, he saw it. The man in the blue cap. Same guy from the day Dad lost his wallet, standing right behind the volunteer who'd just been called up. Jalen's heart started pounding. He watched Blue Cap Man's hands. They were hidden behind the volunteer, out of sight of the crowd, moving slightly, dipping. The volunteer came back down, big smile, laughing at whatever trick Marcus had performed. Blue Cap Man had drifted away. 2 minutes later, the volunteer patted his pocket, frowned, patted again. His wallet was gone. Jalen gripped his notebook so hard his knuckles turned white. He'd been right. He'd been right. Week 2. Jalen expanded his observations. Blue Cap Man wasn't alone. There was a woman with red hair, always in the front row, always gasping loudly at the right moments, drawing everyone's attention forward while Blue Cap worked behind. And there was a young guy, maybe 20, 22, who slipped away right after each volunteer stepped down. He'd walk past Blue Cap, and somehow, by the time he reached the edge of the crowd, his jacket looked bulkier than before. The handoff. Jalen started timing everything. 12 o'clock. Show starts. 12:12. Volunteer called up. 12:14. Blue Cap moves into position. 12:16. Volunteer returns. Red hair screams, "Amazing!" Everyone looks at her. 12:16:30. Blue Cap brushes past volunteer. 12:17. Young guy walks away. 12:18. Blue Cap back in position for next volunteer. Like clockwork. Every single show, Jalen filled page after page with notes. Blue Cap equals the one who takes the wallet. Name unknown. Always wears same cap. Maybe superstitious? Young guy equals receives the wallet, disappears towards subway. Fast walker. Red hair woman equals distraction. Very loud. Good actress. Marcus equals the setup, the cover, the reason everyone's looking the wrong way. It was a team, a professional pickpocket team, and Marcus was the leader. The magic wasn't just entertainment, it was a weapon. Week 3. Jalen counted victims. He started keeping a separate tally in the back of his notebook, a small mark for each person he saw get pickpocketed. Day 1, 3 victims. Day 2, 4 victims. Day 3, 2 victims. Rainy day, smaller crowd. Day 4, 5 victims. By the end of week 3, Jalen had counted 47 confirmed thefts. 47 people who'd come to Times Square for fun, for wonder, for magic, and left without their wallets, their phones, their memories. Jalen thought about his dad, about the photo of Mom, about all the other things people kept in their wallets that couldn't be replaced. IDs, credit cards. Those could be fixed. But what about the photo of a grandmother who'd passed? The ticket stub from a first date? A child's drawing, folded up and carried for luck? How many irreplaceable things had Marcus and his crew stolen? Jalen felt sick. Week 4. He tried going to the police. Walked right up to an officer near the Times Square station. Young guy, looked friendly enough. "Sir, there's a pickpocket ring operating in Times Square. The street magician, Marcus the Magnificent. He's the leader. I have notes." The cop looked at him. An 11-year-old black boy in a school uniform, clutching a composition notebook. "Notes? Yes, sir. I've been watching them for almost a month. I know their patterns. I know who does what. I can show you." "Kid, did you actually see someone take something? Like, with your own eyes clearly?" "I mean, not clearly, but I saw their movements, and I documented the timing, and that's not proof. That's speculation." The cop wasn't being mean exactly, just dismissive. "Look, Times Square has pickpockets. That's not news. But we can't arrest a street performer because a kid thinks he saw something suspicious. But if you just watch them, you'll see." "I don't have time to stand around watching magic shows, son. Neither do you. Go home. Tell your parents if you're worried." The cop walked away. Jalen stood there, notebook in hand, feeling very small. Nothing I can do. That phrase again. The same phrase Marcus had used on his dad. No. Jalen refused to accept that. If the police wouldn't listen to his words, he'd make them listen to something else. He just needed proof they couldn't ignore. Week 5 through week 8, Jalen changed tactics. If he was going to expose Marcus, he needed to understand Marcus, understand how the tricks worked, understand how misdirection functioned. He started watching YouTube tutorials on magic, card tricks, coin tricks, the psychology of illusion. He learned that magic wasn't about quick hands. It was about controlling attention, making the audience look where you wanted them to look. "The hand that moves draws the eye," one video explained. "So if you want to hide something, keep it still while moving something else." That's exactly what Marcus did. His big dramatic gestures drew all eyes to the stage. Meanwhile, Rico's hands stayed calm, subtle, invisible. Jalen practiced in his room at night. Basic card tricks at first, clumsy, obvious. But he kept at it. He wasn't trying to become a magician. He was trying to think like one. Know your enemy. Week 9 through 12. The plan took shape. Jalen couldn't just expose Marcus. He needed to do it in a way that was undeniable, public, inescapable. He needed witnesses, lots of them. He needed the stolen goods as evidence, and he needed to do it all before Marcus could run. The answer was obvious once he thought of it. Use Marcus's own show against him. The crowd was already there. The cameras were already recording. All Jalen had to do was redirect the audience's attention from the magic to the crime. He started rehearsing, not magic tricks, a script, what he would say, how he would say it, how to time it so Rico, Danny, and Tina would be caught with evidence before they could escape. He practiced in front of his bedroom mirror, in the shower, walking to school. He had one shot, one chance. If he screwed up, Marcus would know he was being watched. He'd change his patterns, maybe move to a new location. And Jalen would never get justice. No pressure. The night before, Jalen couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running through the plan in his head for the 1,000th time. Step 1. Get Marcus to call him up on stage. Risky. Marcus usually picked adults with expensive accessories, but Jalen had noticed that Marcus caved to crowd pressure. If enough people chanted for the kid, he'd have to comply to protect his image. Step 2. Ask to perform a trick. Marcus would agree, expecting Jalen to fail and become comic relief. Step 3. While performing, identify Rico, Tina, and Danny out loud, publicly, on camera. Step 4. Get the crowd to pressure them into showing their pockets. Step 5. Let the evidence speak for itself. Simple, terrifying, but simple. Jalen got up, walked to his desk, picked up the photograph that sat in a cheap plastic frame. His dad had made a copy after they got the original back. "One for the living room," Derek said. "One for your room." Jalen looked at his mother's face. "I'm scared, Mom," he whispered. "What if I mess up? What if they don't believe me? What if—" He stopped, took a breath. "But I'm gonna do it anyway. For Dad, for you, for everyone Marcus hurt." He touched the photograph gently. "Wish me luck." He went back to bed. This time, he slept. 3 months to the day since his father's wallet was stolen. Jalen stood at the edge of the Times Square crowd, heart pounding. It was Saturday, 4 p.m., the busiest show of the week. 500 people packed around Marcus's stage. The live stream counter showed 523,000 viewers and climbing. Jalen was wearing his best shirt, the white button-down Dad had bought him for the first day of school. He'd ironed it himself that morning. He wanted to look presentable. In his pocket, a deck of cards, his notebook, and one more thing. He pushed through the crowd until he found his usual spot, far enough to see everything, close enough to act when the moment came. Marcus was mid-performance, cards flying, coins dancing, the crowd eating out of his hand. "Who wants to see something impossible?" Marcus shouted. The crowd cheered. Jalen waited. He watched Rico take position behind a woman in a designer coat, watched Tina move closer to the front, ready to create noise. Watched Danny hover at the edge of the crowd, escape route planned. Same pattern, same setup. Then Marcus called for a volunteer. "I need someone special, someone who wants to experience real magic." Hands went up. Jalen raised his hand. He'd never done that before. In 3 months of watching, he'd stayed invisible, part of the background, not today. Marcus's eyes swept the crowd. They passed over Jalen, a skinny black kid in a white shirt, nothing special, and moved on. But someone in the crowd had noticed Jalen's hand. "Pick the kid," a woman shouted. Others joined in. "Let the kid try. Give him a shot." The TikTok comments exploded. "OMG, pick the little kid. Let him go up." Marcus hesitated. Jalen could see the calculation in his eyes. The kid wasn't a mark. No expensive watch, no designer clothes, nothing worth stealing. But the crowd was chanting now. "Kid, kid, kid!" And the live stream was watching. Marcus's whole brand was built on being the cool, generous, crowd-pleasing magician. He couldn't say no. All right. Marcus grinned and pointed at Jalen. "Come on up, little man." Jalen walked forward. The crowd parted for him. Phones pointed his way. 500,000 people watching through screens. He climbed onto the small stage. Marcus towered over him. Up close, the magician's smile seemed sharper, less friendly. "What's your name, young man?" "Jalen." "Jalen. How old are you, Jalen?" 11. 11 years old. Give it up for Jalen, everyone." Applause, cheers. TikTok hearts floating across screens. "So, Jalen," Marcus put a hand on his shoulder. "You ever seen magic before?" "Yes, sir. I've been watching you for 3 months. Marcus's smile flickered, just for a second. 3 months! Wow, a dedicated fan. I love it." "I'm not a fan, Mr. Marcus." Silence. The crowd murmured, confused. Marcus's smile stayed frozen. What was that? I said I'm not a fan. Jalen's voice was steady. I've been watching you for 3 months, but not because I like magic. The murmur grew louder. Marcus laughed, a forced, uncomfortable sound. Well, okay then. So what brings you up here today, Jalen? Jalen looked directly into Marcus's eyes. I want to show you a trick, if that's okay. Marcus blinked. He hadn't expected this. The crowd loved it, though. Let him do it, someone shouted. TikTok comments flooded. This kid is savage. Let him try. Marcus had no choice. His brand demanded he be gracious. Sure, kid. He stepped back, gesturing to the table. Show us what you got. Scattered applause. Most people expected Jalen to fumble through some amateur card trick and embarrass himself. That was the entertainment value, watching a kid fail. Jalen reached into his pocket, pulled out his deck of cards. Mr. Marcus, can I borrow your red handkerchief? Marcus's red silk handkerchief was his signature. It appeared in almost every trick. He hesitated, then shrugged and handed it over. Sure, kid. Go ahead. Jalen spread the handkerchief flat on the table. The red silk gleamed under the afternoon sun. He held up the deck of cards. Everyone loves magic, Jalen said, his voice carrying across the crowd. You know why? He started shuffling. The cards danced between his small hands, not as smoothly as Marcus, but competently. People leaned in, curious. Because magic shows us impossible things, things that can't be real, and for a moment, we get to believe. He fanned the cards out in a perfect arc. But there's another kind of magic, a dangerous kind. The crowd was silent now. Even the TikTok comments slowed. The kind that makes you look at one thing, while something else is being taken. Marcus stiffened. Jalen turned to face the audience directly. Right now, in this crowd, there are 3 people who aren't here to watch magic, he pointed. The man in the blue cap, 3rd row, left side. Heads turned. Rico froze. The woman with red hair, front row, center. Tina's eyes went wide. And the young man by the hot dog cart, already moving toward the exit. Danny stopped mid-step. Those 3 people work for Mr. Marcus. While you're watching his tricks, they're taking your wallets. Chaos erupted. Marcus grabbed Jalen's shoulder. This kid is lying. I've never seen those people in my... Sir in the blue cap. Jalen's voice cut through. Can you empty your pockets, please? The crowd turned on Rico, phones pointing at him, people backing away, creating a circle of space. What? No, I'm just... Empty your pockets! The shout came from a large man in a Yankees jersey. The crowd picked it up. Empty them! Empty them! Rico looked at Marcus. Marcus looked at Rico. And in that moment, everyone saw it. The silent communication, the shared panic. They knew each other. Oh my God, someone whispered. Rico ran. He didn't get far. The crowd was too thick, and people were already blocking his path. Someone grabbed his arm. His jacket ripped. Things fell from his pockets. Wallets. 3 of them. That's mine! A woman lunged forward, snatching a pink leather wallet. He took my wallet. This one's mine. A man grabbed a brown bifold. TikTok exploded. 800,000 viewers now. Comments scrolling too fast to read. Tina tried to slip away. Someone grabbed her. Danny made it 10 feet before 2 men tackled him. Sirens in the distance. Someone had called the police. Marcus was backing away from the table, hands raised. I don't know these people. This is crazy. I'm just a performer. Mr. Marcus. Jalen's voice was calm. Too calm for an 11-year-old. Marcus turned. Jalen held up his notebook, opened it. 3 months, 92 days. I came here every day after school. I documented everything. He flipped through pages, dates, times, diagrams showing where Rico stood, where Danny went, where Tina positioned herself. 47 victims that I counted, probably more. Marcus's face went pale. I went to the police 6 weeks ago. They didn't believe me, said I needed proof. Jalen gestured to the chaos around them, the wallets on the ground, The crowd holding Rico, Danny, and Tina, the hundreds of phones recording everything. "Is this enough proof?" The crowd roared. Not in amusement, in anger, in vindication. Marcus took another step back. "You little—" "I'm not done, Mr. Marcus." Jalen's voice cracked. For the first time, he sounded like what he was, a child. 3 months ago, you invited my dad up on stage. His name is Derek Carter. Brown jacket, blue jeans, work boots. You made a card appear behind his ear. Everyone laughed. Marcus's eyes darted toward the edge of the crowd, looking for an escape. When he came back down, his wallet was gone. Rico took it, just like all the others. Jalen's hands were shaking now, but he kept going. "There was no money in my dad's wallet. Just one thing." His voice broke. "A picture. The only picture of my mom. She died when I was 4. That photo was all we had left of her." The crowd went silent. "My dad cried that night. I heard him through the wall. First time I ever heard him cry." Tears were streaming down Jalen's face now, but he didn't stop. "You made my dad cry, Mr. Marcus. You took the only picture of my mom. You looked us in the eye and said, 'Nothing I can do.'" He wiped his face with the back of his hand. "But there was something I could do. So I did it." Marcus stared at him. The charming smile was gone. The confident showman was gone. All that was left was a cornered man, caught, exposed, finished. "You're really good at magic, Mr. Marcus. You know how to make things disappear." Jalen took a step toward him. "But you know what you can't make disappear? Memories. My memories of my mom, the way she smelled, the sound of her voice, my dad's stories about her." Another step. "You took the photo, but you didn't take her. And you didn't take me." Police pushed through the crowd. Officers surrounded Marcus, Rico, Danny, and Tina. "Marcus Rivera, you're under arrest for grand larceny, conspiracy to commit theft, and fraud. You have the right to remain silent." The rest was drowned out by the crowd's cheers. 1.2 million people were watching now. The video was already being clipped, shared, reposted. An 11-year-old black boy had just taken down one of the biggest street performers in New York City. Not with violence, not with lawyers, not with adults swooping in to save the day, with patience, with planning, with 3 months of watching, with magic. Jalen stepped down from the platform. His legs were shaking. The adrenaline that had carried him through was fading, leaving him exhausted and drained. Someone touched his shoulder. He turned. His father was standing there, tears in his eyes, face twisted with emotions Jalen couldn't even name. "Jalen." Derek's voice was barely a whisper. "What did you do?" "I found them, Dad." Jalen's own tears started again. "I found the people who took your wallet. I couldn't let them keep hurting people. I couldn't let them get away with—" Derek grabbed him, hugged him so tight Jalen couldn't breathe. 3 months! Derek was crying into his son's shoulder. "You came here every day for 3 months? Alone?" "I'm sorry I didn't tell you. I knew you'd worry. You'd stop me." "Damn right I would have stopped you. This was dangerous, Jalen. These are criminals." I know, Dad. But I had to. For you. For Mom." Derek pulled back, held Jalen's face in his hands. "I should be furious with you. I know. I should ground you for the rest of your life. I know." Derek stared at him. Then, slowly, a smile broke through the tears. "I am so proud of you." Jalen broke down completely. Father and son held each other in the middle of Times Square, surrounded by chaos and cameras and cheering strangers, and none of it mattered. They had each other. That was enough. 2 days later, Derek's phone rang. "Mr. Carter, this is Detective Williams, NYPD. We finished processing the evidence from the Marcus Rivera case." "Yes?" "Sir, this is one of the biggest pickpocket busts we've had in years. We found a storage unit in Queens. Rivera's crew kept everything there. Hundreds of stolen items going back at least 5 years." Derek gripped the phone tighter. "We've recovered wallets, phones, jewelry, watches, over 300 items total. We're working on returning everything to the rightful owners. That's good. Mr. Carter, there's something else. We found a wallet. Brown leather, pretty worn. Driver's license inside says Derek Carter. That you? Derek stopped breathing. Yes, that's me. And inside the wallet, tucked behind the license, there's a photograph. A woman holding a young boy. Looks like a birthday party. There's cake frosting on the boy's face. Derek's hand was shaking so badly he almost dropped the phone. Sir? Mr. Carter? Are you there? I'm here. His voice cracked. That's my wife. That's my son. That photo is... It's the only one I had of her. There was a pause on the other end. When the detective spoke again, his voice was softer. Mr. Carter, I've been a cop for 23 years. I've seen a lot of cases. But what your son did, I've never seen anything like it. An 11-year-old boy, 3 months of surveillance, single-handedly taking down a criminal operation. That kid is something special. I know, Derek whispered. I know. Sir, would you be able to come to the precinct today to identify and retrieve your property? I'll be there in an hour. Jalen was at school when his dad texted. Come straight home after school. Important. He spent the rest of the day in agony, unable to focus on anything. His teacher called on him twice and he didn't hear either question. His friends asked if he was okay. He barely responded. Had something gone wrong? Was there a problem with the case? Did Marcus have a good lawyer who got the charges dropped? He rushed home after final bell, took the stairs 2 at a time, burst through the apartment door. Dad, what's... His dad was sitting at the kitchen table, a small object in his hands. His eyes were red, but he was smiling. Come here, son. Jalen walked over slowly, sat down across from his father. Derek held up what was in his hands. A photograph, worn at the edges, colors slightly faded, a small crease across one corner. A beautiful woman with warm brown eyes, holding a 2-year-old boy with cake frosting on his cheek, birthday candles in the background, a smile that could light up a room. They found it, Derek whispered. They found her. Jalen couldn't speak, couldn't move, could barely breathe. He reached out with trembling fingers, touched the edge of the photo. His mother's face looked back at him. He didn't remember her. Not really. Just fragments, the smell of cocoa butter lotion, a humming sound that might have been singing, the feeling of being held against something warm. But looking at this photo, really looking at it for the first time in months, he felt something. Connection. Recognition. Love. This was his mother. This was the woman who had carried him, birthed him, loved him. The woman who had died too young, taken too soon. The woman his father still loved so much, he carried her photo everywhere. Hi, Mom, Jalen said softly. We got you back. His voice broke on the last word. Derek stood up, walked around the table, put his arms around his son. Father and son held each other in the small kitchen, crying. For Monique, for the photo, for the 3 months of secrets and danger, for everything they'd lost and everything they'd found. You did it, Derek said into his son's hair. You actually did it. I had to, Dad. I know you did. They stayed like that for a long time. That night they ordered pizza, Jalen's favorite, pepperoni and mushroom. They sat on the couch together, the photo in a new frame between them, and Derek told stories. Stories about Monique. How they'd met. She was a waitress at a diner in Bed-Stuy. He was a plumber's apprentice who came in every day just to see her smile. How he'd proposed, with a ring he'd saved up for 6 months to buy in the middle of Prospect Park, and she'd said yes before he even finished asking. How she'd found out she was pregnant, taken 3 tests because she didn't believe the first 2. How she'd held Jalen for the first time, crying and laughing at the same time, saying, "He's perfect, Derek, he's absolutely perfect." Jalen listened to every word. "She would have loved you so much," Derek said. "Not just the baby you, the you right now. The kid who stood up against criminals, the kid who wouldn't give up, the kid who brought her home." "You think?" "I know. She had that same fire, you know, that same stubbornness, that same sense of right and wrong." Derek smiled. "You got it from her." Jalen looked at the photo, at his mother's eyes, wondered if she was watching from somewhere, wondered if she'd been watching all along. "I miss her," he said, "even though I don't really remember her. Is that weird?" "No, that's love. That's what love does. It connects you to people even when they're gone." Jalen leaned against his father's shoulder. "I love you, Dad. I love you too, son, more than anything in this world." The weeks that followed were chaotic. The video went viral. Not just viral, supernova. 94 million views, clips everywhere, news coverage on every channel. 11-year-old boy exposes Times Square pickpocket ring. The kid who caught the magician. Jalen Carter, America's youngest detective. Media requests flooded in. Good Morning America, The Today Show, Ellen, Jimmy Fallon. Oprah's people called twice. Derek screened everything, said no to most of it. "My son's not a circus act," he told one producer. "He did something brave. That doesn't mean he owes anyone an interview." But there was one request they couldn't refuse. The NYPD wanted to honor Jalen. A ceremony at the precinct. The commissioner himself would be there. Jalen wore his white button-down shirt, the same one from that day in Times Square, now freshly cleaned and pressed. Derek wore a suit he'd borrowed from his brother. The ceremony was surreal. Cameras flashing, officers applauding, the commissioner shaking Jalen's hand, presenting him with a citation. "For extraordinary bravery and civic responsibility," the commissioner read, "Jalen Carter, age 11, is hereby recognized for his instrumental role in dismantling a criminal organization responsible for over 200 thefts across a 5-year period." More applause, more photos. Jalen felt dizzy. This wasn't why he'd done it. He didn't want medals or recognition. He just wanted his dad's photo back. But then Detective Williams leaned in and whispered something. "Kid, because of what you did, 47 families got their stuff back. Heirlooms, memories, things that can't be replaced. You gave them back something they thought was lost forever." Jalen thought about that. 47 families. Not just wallets and phones, photographs, letters, jewelry passed down through generations. Maybe the attention was worth it if it meant people knew it was possible. If it meant other kids realized they didn't have to be helpless. The NYPD invited Jalen to become a youth ambassador for their anti-pickpocket awareness program. At first, he didn't understand what that meant. "Basically," Detective Williams explained, "you go to schools, community centers, public events. You tell your story. You teach people how to protect themselves." "Me? Teach?" "Kid, you know more about how pickpockets operate than half my officers. You watched them for 3 months. You learned their patterns better than anyone. Who better to teach people what to look out for?" So Jalen did. He stood in front of auditoriums full of kids his age, telling his story, showing them what to watch for, teaching them that the real trick wasn't the magic, it was the distraction. "Watch where people are looking," he'd say, "and then look somewhere else. That's where the real trick is happening." He made PowerPoints, drew diagrams, even performed a few basic magic tricks to show how misdirection worked. The kids loved it. Teachers said the presentations were the best safety education they'd ever seen. Principals requested return visits. And slowly, something shifted in Jalen. He'd learned magic to catch a criminal, but somewhere along the way, he'd fallen in love with it. Not the crime, the craft. The way a simple trick could make someone's eyes light up. The way a moment of wonder could cut through the boredom and worry and stress of everyday life. The way magic could make people believe, even just for a second, that impossible things were possible. A prestigious magic academy in Manhattan offered him a full scholarship, free training from some of the best magicians in the world. His father worried at first. After everything that happened, you want to learn magic? Jalen nodded. Magic isn't bad, Dad. Marcus was bad. He used magic to hurt people. I want to use it to help. Help how? Jalen thought about it. Make people believe in something good. Even just for a moment. That's what real magic is supposed to do. Derek looked at his son for a long moment. Then he smiled. Your mother would be proud of you. You think? I know. 1 year later, Times Square, 4 p.m. on a Saturday. A crowd had gathered, smaller than Marcus's crowds used to be, maybe 50 people. Mostly kids from the neighborhood. A few curious tourists. In the center stood Jalen Carter, now 12 years old, taller, more confident, still wearing the white button-down shirt, now slightly too small. On the table beside him, a deck of cards, a few props, and a framed photograph of a woman holding a baby. Who wants to see some magic? Jalen called out. The kids cheered. Jalen smiled and began. His tricks weren't as flashy as Marcus's. He didn't have the expensive equipment or the years of practice. But he had something Marcus never had. Heart. He made cards appear behind kids' ears, made coins multiply in their hands, made a flower bloom from an empty pot, and between each trick he talked. Magic is about wonder, he said. It's about believing something impossible can happen. He showed them how a simple trick worked, the mechanics behind the mystery. But you know what? The real magic isn't fooling people. It's giving them hope, making them smile, helping them believe. After the show, a young boy approached him, maybe 7 years old, shy. How do you do it? The boy asked. Make things appear? Jalen knelt down to his level. Practice. Lots and lots of practice. But you know the real secret? The boy shook his head. You have to believe in the magic yourself first. If you don't believe, nobody else will. The boy's eyes widened. Can you teach me? Jalen smiled. Come back next Saturday. I'll teach you your first trick. The boy ran off to his mother, excited. Derek watched from a distance. Beside him, a woman, his girlfriend Karen, squeezed his hand. He's something special, she said. Yeah, Derek's voice was thick. He really is. The photograph of Monique sat in a frame on the table, watching over every show. Jalen had bought the frame himself. Wood, painted blue, his mom's favorite color, according to his dad. Before each performance, he'd touch the frame and whisper, "This one's for you, Mom." He didn't know if she could hear him. He liked to think she could. At the end of his show that day, a reporter approached him. Jalen, people call you a hero. How does that feel? Jalen thought about it. I'm not a hero. I'm just a kid who paid attention when everyone else was watching something else. What do you mean? Marcus was so good at magic that nobody looked past the tricks. But the best hiding spot is always in plain sight. All I did was look. What advice would you give to other kids who see something wrong? Jalen considered the question. Don't wait for adults to fix it. Sometimes they won't, sometimes they can't. But that doesn't mean nothing can be done. He looked directly at the camera. If you see something wrong, and you can do something about it, then do it. Even if you're small, even if you're young, even if everyone says you can't. He paused. Magic isn't about making things disappear. Real magic is making things right. The sun set over Times Square. The crowd dispersed. Jalen packed up his things. Derek helped him fold the table. Good show today, Derek said. Thanks, Dad. Your mom would have loved it. Jalen looked at the framed photograph, at his mother's smile. I know, he said softly. I know. That night, Jalen sat in his room, practicing card tricks by lamplight. Shuffle, cut, fan, flourish. The cards danced between his fingers smoother than before, getting better every day. On his desk, the framed photograph watched him practice. On his wall, a poster from the Magic Academy. A quote at the bottom: "Magic is believing in yourself. If you can do that, you can make anything happen." Jalen put down the cards. He looked at the photograph of his mother. "I'm gonna be good, Mom," he whispered. "I'm gonna make you proud." The photograph didn't answer, but somehow Jalen felt warmth spread through his chest, like a hug from far away, like magic. Marcus Rivera made everyone watch his hands. He counted on people looking where he pointed. He never expected an 11-year-old boy to look somewhere else. Never expected that boy to watch for 3 months. Never expected him to step onto that stage. Never expected him to have the courage to say, "Can I show you a trick?" The best magic trick Jalen ever performed wasn't on that stage. It was this. He made people believe that one small person can make a big difference. And the best part? That's not an illusion. That's just the truth.